It's well documented how much you've tried to be creative in your play-by-play calls. I know you tell the Bonino story in every interview. You probably do. We can get to that. You can decide which version you give us, how long it is. You've done a tremendous job in taking the English hockey terms and turning them into these amazing phrases and expressions in Punjabi. One funny story was the fact that, sometimes things do get lost in translation, where a producer thought you were saying Bob Cole, but it turned out you were saying something else in Punjabi. Is that right?
That's right. And, it's just one of those things early on in the show, our producer didn't speak Punjabi or didn't understand it. So we had to, even when we were on camera, when we were, finished our segment, we would be using traditional hand signals like this to be like, okay, that part's over, move on to the next. Or, they were picking out hockey players' names and things, and we kind of had this coded system for them to know when to switch and show something else. And it's quite fascinating that we pulled it off without anybody really realizing that was the case. And so, yeah, it's lost in translation where we're calling a game and, my producer's in my ear as we're calling the game saying, it's Bob Cole, it's not Bill Cole, right? and I'm just thinking, like, we're calling the game. I look over to my color commentator and I'm just like, okay, we just keep going. And then it comes up again a few minutes later. And then it's like in the intermission, I remember him coming up and he's like, look, you guys really got to get this right? Like, I know he's a colleague, he's a legendary broadcaster. Like, you got to say Bob. And I'm like, buddy, we're not talking about Bob Cole at all. Like, I have no reason to have mentioned him. And then it's still couldn't clue in. And then the next period, like third period, he's like, I cannot. He's like in my ear as we're talking, right? And he's like, I cannot believe you guys. And I can tell he's getting. And this is like the most angry and the most animated I've ever had to experience. This guy, he's now the late Wayne Craig. He unfortunately passed away. But I remember after the game, when we kind of do our post-game wrap-up about how everything went, and his arms are crossed, and he's just shaking his head, right? And he's just like, I cannot believe you guys. And he's like, I told you so many times. And he goes, you called this guy Bill Cole throughout the whole, and I still couldn't figure it out. And then I was just walking around, I started pacing there. I'm like, Bill Cole, Bill Cole, Bill Cole, Bill Cole. I was like, Bill Cole. Bill Cole means like, that's like a common Punjabi phrase of like, or that's right, or yeah, right? And then I was like, Bill, and we had we were like, tears. We were just laughing so hard, basically fell to our knees because we were like, wow, for like basically 6 to 8 hours of a day, we were arguing about something and then just realized it was lost in translation. So yeah, that's one of the examples of the fun stories in the book.